Were you surprised by the trade? Now it feels so long ago, right? But were you surprised by the trade in August?
Yeah, definitely. I think had just re-signed the contract a couple of weeks prior, so I think it's definitely always a shock when you get traded. But I was excited to come up to Edmonton and prove myself.
You dealt with some injuries last season, and the last second half of the year kind of just didn't go the way you wanted. How have you felt? Maybe that off-season summer, and just it wasn't an in-season move. You were kind of new place again, just to kind of get rolling. And you've been healthy this season.
Yeah, it's always an adjustment to go to a new place in the season, but all the guys were super welcoming and spent some more time on my body this summer, rehabbing my foot, making sure that I was healthy. And I think this year it's been good. So knock on wood, I've been able to stay healthy, and hopefully we can keep that going.
I know there were some reports earlier in the year that you reached out to Kyle Burrows just about the adjustment of playing in a Canadian market. How has he helped, and how have you felt that adjustment's gone?
I actually didn't reach out to him. He reached out to me after that happened. Was just like, hey, didn't actually say that, but it was then we started talking about it. It's an adjustment of just different market from San Jose to Edmonton, but it's been good. They really care about their hockey up there, so it's awesome to see.
And you just look at how your game has settled in as a young player. The Sharks, we know where they are in the standings, but Edmonton's going deeper. And how have you felt that, mentality change for you when you've been, pretty solid in the lineup for the last little bit here?
Yeah, it's been up and down for me this year. I think right now I'm trying to find my game again, but it's always that process of as a young guy in the league. I think they say something about as a young defenseman, it takes a couple hundred games to find yourself. So I think I'm still doing that, but trying to prove myself every night.
Ty, you say you're trying to find your game right now. What are some of the extra things that you're hoping to do when you're at the rink, trying to make the most of your time in search of that?
I think just working with Mark Stewart, of watching some video and just learning different things of positioning, just really little things of slowing down my game sometimes. Sometimes I'm too fast out there, not in the sense that I'm Connor McDavid or anything, but just get ahead of myself and look to try to do too much, but maybe just simplify my game and simplify my puck touches.
How do you look back at your time in San Jose? I mean, like you said, the injuries were so frustrating. How do you look back? What's your biggest takeaway from your time here?
Yeah, obviously it was a frustrating year last year, but it was awesome for me just to be able to break into the league. I have nothing but great things to say about the organization and the guys here, that they gave me a chance to play in this league and kind of prove myself.
What's kind of a different, last year in San Jose, you're playing like 20 minutes a night. The team isn't as successful as opposed to here. I think you're at about 14, but the team is obviously a different team here. Like just the differences in the challenges between those kind of two situations.
Yeah, obviously it's a much older team here, and we have some really good players on the back end. So obviously those guys have earned their ice time and earned their spot in the league, and it's awesome to be able to learn from them day in and day out. Just whether it's practice at the rink or off the ice, just looking at how they handle themselves and how they've built such a good career.
Developmentally, was it like too difficult last year for a young defenseman in San Jose in some ways? Just the minutes and just the constant shots and coming your way, that kind of thing.
No, honestly, I think it was good for me. Sometimes the best way to learn stuff is just to get tossed into the fire, to get tossed into the deep end. So I think last year, sometimes it's actually easier to be more in the game when you play more minutes versus having to shift here, shift there. But I think last year was really good for me of just getting thrown into the fire, being able to play with a guy like Marr who had played a couple years in the league and kind of understood what it took to be a regular.
I'm sure it was disappointing to leave San Jose, but what's it mean to you that a team like Edmonton, Stanley Cup team like Edmonton wanted you?
Yeah, it's always a shock when you get traded, but like you just said, it's exciting when a team trades for you. It's excited for when a team wants you. So it was fun to be able to get up to Edmonton and see how much the fan cares, and it's been a fun season so far.
Building off that, obviously you had experience with Chris Knobloch in Hartford. That's a guy that has a lot of trust in you, and you had a lot of success at the AHL level with. How much has that kind of helped you maybe not get too down on yourself maybe when you're in these moments where you're trying to find your game?
I think it helps a lot. I think he's super good at communication, just like Warzy was last year. It's kind of the new age of coaching, of not yelling and screaming all the time, but kind of understanding the player of what they're going through and making sure that they realize that they can be a part of this team, and it's not always negative, it's positive. They try to build you back up.
What do you think Warzo is a good head coach for a rebuilding team like the Sharks?
Kind of like I just said, I think he's worked his way up through the leagues. He's won in every level that he's been at, and he's good with the communication of he's not all about ripping you, about yelling at you. Like, he obviously knows you're out there trying to make the right play, and sometimes it doesn't go your way. So I think it's more about the process based, but he was really good with communication of me, of just not, if I made a mistake, it was obviously you don't want to do it again, but you learn from it and you move on.
What do you make of the Sharks this year? Obviously they got a lot of young guys here. What are you guys talking about when it comes to like Celebrity and Smith and Toffoli and those type of players?
I mean, yeah, they're good players. We played them back in December, and they make a lot of good plays. So I think it's just making sure that we get the puck deep and make sure we play our game, that we focus on what we need to do and don't really look on the other side.
Maybe talk about your team game right now. Of course, you guys are out with without some of your best players right now, yet you guys are still finding ways to come out on top. What right now is allowing you guys to find a little bit more success as a group?
I think it's just the next man up mentality. We had a meeting when we were in Carolina a couple weeks ago of just understanding that even with the couple top guys out, we're still a really good hockey team, and we have a lot of guys that can pull weight in different ways. So people just step up and continue to play the way that we can play.
How about defensively, especially last night against Vegas? That's a really good Vegas team, a really fast team. You guys limited their chances for, especially off the rush, for many parts of the night. Is that kind of the capability of what this group can do when it's really playing at its game defensively?
Yeah, I think we're a really good defensive team when we play the way we can, and I think it starts with having a good forecheck, putting pucks in good spots, and just having an F3. Because when we have a good F3, it allows the defense to gap and make sure that we can be more aggressive and keep pucks alive. But sometimes if we lose a guy, then it gets a little disjointed here and there.